Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? We're back again with another edition of Pocket Watchers Black Certified Financial Planners. And today, today I'm super excited. I have a brother on with me, Mr. Dominique Henderson. Y'all don't even know how big I'm fanning out right now because, as I told him a few moments ago, his videos would be playing in the background while I was studying for the CFP exam. The moments and times where I'm going through all this study material and that little nagging voice in the back of my head is like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to pass. This is way too much information for one person to be able to spit out in 6 hours. His videos was playing in the background, giving me the encouragement that I needed to keep going, to keep studying. And the added fact that when you type in certified financial planner in YouTube, it's this man's face that pops up really made me feel like, wow, this is possible. He's giving encouragement, he's giving tips, and the man looks like me. It made it feel that much better. So, Mr. Henderson, thank you so much for coming on my channel.
Oh, no worries, man. This is it's very humbling. I appreciate the flowers while I'm still here. Yeah, because we have the same barber, it's all good, right?
Right.
Good stuff, JT.
Hey, listen. I'm so excited. I just want to sit back and really hear your stories because here on Black Financial Planners, the goal is to share the stories of successful Black financial planners, but it's also to give the encouragement for Black students and career changers that this is a career for you. So starting out, man, I would love it if you would just simply, give us the rundown, your story of how you ended up being, your CFP on YouTube is the tagline that I have playing in my head all the time. How did that even happen? Starting out with, obviously your upbringing, your education, what brought you to where you are right now?
Oh man, let's see. Maybe we can do the condensed version of this.
Hey, I take it however you want to give it. Let's go.
Because I would love to use some of the time also to kind of answer some of your audience's frequently asked questions because I know that you guys get them all the time.
Absolutely.
So I'm the oldest of three, and I am a military child. So my dad spent 22 years in the U.S. Army. And I got the brunt of that. I think it was something like 8 schools in 12 years or something like that. So I think the reason why I highlight that is because I think that gave me the type of perseverance that has worked really well for me. I often tell career changers and new entrants into this industry that starting your own financial services business, I know everybody won't do that, but if you do decide to hang your shingle, it's like running through a brick wall, getting up and running through another brick wall. So it's really tough. And I think my dad, moving us around and me finding a new set of friends every 2 to 3 years, built in me this level of not only perseverance, but this discipline to stick to something and finish it out. So that's kind of my MO. I graduated from Prairie View A&M University. Go PVU, product of an HBCU. That's right. And then I left and I got hired at a hedge fund, which is very, very odd back in the day in 98. But I worked there for 8 years in the back office, learned a lot about financial services, got really, really good at different other skill sets like project management and, statistical analysis and things like that.
Yeah, I mean that's really unique based on the stories that I've heard in the past. Because one of the biggest channels, obviously, is selling insurance or being a broker, especially immediately after graduation. So for you to go into the space of hedge funds, that's interesting. How did that even happen?
A hedge fund that's currently in Dallas was in Fort Worth, and they were expanding.
Okay.
And they were just hiring. I don't know how old you are, JT, but so I just turned 46. So the job market was actually pretty good in the mid 90s to late 90s. So
okay. See, I graduated into the Great Recession. I'll be 39 this year, and I graduated in 2006.
Yeah, those are tougher times. But there was the need for talent, and I wasn't a dummy. I graduated in the top of my class, and so that was helpful. I think, and the reason why I bring this part of the journey out is because I'll use this term. I was kind of brainwashed to what financial services look like. We dealt with institutions, pensions, big endowments, things like that. So I didn't really understand as much of the retail side of financial services that most people use.
Right.
I had only dealt with the top 1%. And so I had a perspective of that was probably wasn't accurate for the space I was going to be in. But the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people get hung up on how they start. And I tell them, just get started. Don't worry about how you start. Just get started. That's my advice to a lot of career changers, because I was no different. In essence, I was kind of a career changer because I wasn't front facing financial services for the first 8 years in the financial services industry. And then when I decided to pivot, I took about 18 months off, probably watched too much Flip That House. Tried my hand at real estate.
Okay.
But I left that and then got my 766. There was no SIE back then. My life and health, started working with a broker dealer, mostly selling insurance to sell products or to sell financial services. That was the conduit, as most people are used to. And that broker dealer went defunct. And so I had to find a new home, which then led me to a medium-sized RIA at the time that I went there. And I stayed there for 6 years, stacked more skills, learned how to trade, learned about all I wanted to know about muni bonds and front-facing client services, and then started my firm about 6 years ago. So
nice.
That was my 20-plus year journey, if you will.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing because so many people think that, it's a mountain too high to climb. Right. It gets to a point where it becomes overwhelming, especially when you get into a field like, medicine, law, and finance are fields that the average person it's tougher to work through with common sense. Right. Like you think that, I kind of know how stuff works. But when you get into like creating financial plans or even creating personal financial statements and understanding how certain things go on the income statement that doesn't go on the balance sheet and stuff like that, it's like, whoa, I actually got to kind of study this stuff. I can't just common sense my way through it. But, it's possible. It could be done with dedication. So that's an amazing story. So let's kind of touch on the things that people want to hear the most, right? So the things that people want to hear the most is, how hard is the CFP exam?
Oddly enough, a fellow YouTuber of ours, AJ Cermick, and I just got through talking about exam difficulties on my channel.
Yes.
And we mostly talked about CFA and CFP because those were the ones that everybody said they wanted to hear about. But nevertheless, I think it depends. And I hate to give that answer, but let me qualify it.
I got you.
So if you are a career changer coming from a non-financial industry, CFP is going to be super hard for you. It's going to be hard because you're learning a foreign language. There's 7 classes of education you have to go through, which will probably take you somewhere between 12 to 18 months. I would say 12 months if you just go straight through, because these classes are, you can take them kind of pretty much back to back if you want.
Right.
Best thing to do if you're single with no kids. I'll just tell you right now,
right,
you start having kids and a wife and other obligations, it might be a little hard.
A little tougher in that sense. Yes.
Yeah. So that's that. And then I would say, you got the exam, which is pretty rigorous for a person that has not, just been into that, to your point about, putting together financial statements and what goes where. So from that standpoint, it can be pretty difficult. I would say for somebody like myself who waited to take the CFP exam until I was in year 15 of the industry, it was a little different for me. It was still difficult, but it was not as difficult as that first scenario that I just described. So much so that I was able to parlay some of the courses I took in grad school to satisfy some of the education requirements. Nice. And again, by that time, I had worked in trading muni bonds for like 4 years. So I understood duration and all this other kind of stuff. So the investment stuff was easy. Present value, future value of money, all that kind of stuff was easy. But I would say, to your point, estates, estate planning, tax planning, retirement planning, those things are going to be pretty hard subjects for people, and especially the amount of information. I think the thing about the CFP, if you're interested in it, you go on their website, you just kind of start browsing through the knowledge topics of what they're asking you. What you're going to first realize is like, this is a lot of information. That's why we call it inch deep, mile wide, because they're trying to get you to cover a lot of stuff, because at the end of the day, you're becoming a comprehensive financial planner.
Exactly.
So that's why it's so much information. So I just tell anybody, like, everybody's going to be a little different, but I got a friend, Gary Clement, who helps people pass this exam all the time.
Yes.
And he's like the GOAT, and he just tells people 250 hours and beyond. Like, you just gotta get the familiarity with those questions in you, because you only get 2 minutes a question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, this is the type of stuff I was watching while I was studying for the exam. I mean, I literally created a book. If I can show people it, this was my study guide.
Yeah,
I created a book out of an exam. And what I ended up doing was every question, 170 questions is in this book. My review course allowed me to do a practice exam. I then printed that practice exam out, created a book, and I made a note on every question. I would circle the thing within the question that was like the trick part of the question, to be like, hey, notice this word, accept, or something like that. And then I would make a note at the end, what are they trying to see that you know?
Yep.
After every question, why what are they testing you on? Why are they trying to trick you? What are the things that canceled out the first two answers? I mean, two of the questions, so that it has to be, why are they trying to do this? And I'm telling you, after I did that, I felt so much more confident when I sat down for the exam. There might have been maybe 2 or 3 questions where when I was taking the exam, where I was sitting there like, I don't know what the hell they're asking me.
Yeah.
That was like
well, you bring up a good point, JT. So I had the unfortunate opportunity to sit for the level 1 CFA exam, which did not go as well as the CFP exam on the first time around. And what I do now, granted, those exams are testing for different things.
Right.
The Chartered Financial Analyst is more of a very investment centric, if you're going to do portfolio management, all that kind of stuff, versus the CFP, which is just kind of like a jack of all trades, generalist type of deal. But the point is, my level of familiarity with each exam was drastically different. Like, when I got to the CFP exam, I knew how to prepare for an exam. That the CFA, I was scratching my head on a lot of that stuff. I was like, what are they talking about? And what I think the point you're making is, if you don't get familiar with what they're trying, what the objective of the question is, what they're testing, there's no way you're going to pass.
Right.
Because you don't know. It's guessing game. You have to either get so familiar with questions or understand the topic that they're trying to test for. That's the key to it, because there's always in all these exams, there's immediately 2 wrong answers.
Yeah.
And then the other one is just really, really close to the right answer. Yeah.
All right. Why is this one more right?
Yeah.
There's probably something in the question
Yep.
that points to why this one is more right than the other one. And just for a word for people out there, yes, it is not an easy exam. It's not. But I will say this. I've been blessed to achieve some things at a younger age in my career than some other people. But even with that, there's this sense of imposter syndrome, right? It's like, yeah, you did these things, but do you really know your stuff? Are you really in the place where you should be? Are people going to find out that you're not as good as what they think they are? And I'm telling you, after I read pass on that computer screen and that testing site, I'm not perfect.
It was a wrap.
But listen, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I might not be able to just ramble off every answer to every financial question in the history of the world. Passing this exam?
Yeah.
Them days
I want to piggyback on that. So I would say two things, and maybe we can dovetail into the encouragement part of this for the person that is thinking about CFP track or any of that kind of stuff. So the first is, to your point, this becomes a huge badge of honor and accomplishment. I mean, when you kind of think of it, there's less than 2,000 Black CFPs out of 90,000 CFPs total. First of all, that's an accomplishment. We got to do better with penetration and exposure in our community, because this is definitely something that I think is worthwhile having. And I would say that there are partners within the industry that are trying to make that happen. But at the end of the day, it's an exposure issue. This is at least what I feel. I mean, I have a friend that prior to the pandemic, all she did is travel around and talk about CFP exam. And she got to a well-known HBCU and was talking to a room about 100, kids in finance, and they didn't even know about CFP was a career. So that's in 2019. And so we still got to do a better job of exposure. Now, what I will say, though, for those that, need encouragement on this particular exam, although it does send a real definite, clear signal to potential employers in the industry, even consumers, I'm going to be really frank. And this seems like it's going against everything we said for the first 17 minutes. But
no, I got you.
It's been rare that a client has approached me and said, the reason I'm working with you is because you're a certified financial planner. That's just the reality. So there's still, again, more penetration for public awareness and public knowledge. So I'm going to give this 3-part rubric on why I think you should maybe wait, or how you should take the exam and how you should be looking at this. If you're already in college and you're doing a financial planning degree, no brainer. It's not going to be fresher in your brain. So go ahead and finish your degree, take the exam. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two would be is if you're about to be working for an employer, already working for an employer, and they say, you know what, we can bonus you more and we can give you more responsibility on a career track wise if you get your CFP. No brainer. Go ahead and get it. In the rare instance, I've had this happen where I talked to a client and they were just like, I want to know what to hire, so I'm going to start taking some classes. I was like, really? Okay, well, whatever. But all that to say, I don't think this is something you should rush into if you're not ready. It's fine to go intern, do externships, get more exposure, find mentors, do all this stuff before you decide you want to go down this path. With that minimum is going to take you 2+ years. That's the whole, it's at least 2 years, because even after you do the education exam, you still need the experience hours, which is 6,000 hours. I mean, 4,000 hours on our apprentice track, but most people do the 6,000 hours. So, you kind of figure 2,000 hours is a normal working year. It's going to take you 3 years to get the experience part. So all that to say, you don't go into this lightly, and it's okay if you start working in the industry without going after education as your primary objective first. It's totally okay with that. I did it. A lot of other people have done it. And I just want to encourage people that if you want to do this, it's okay. It's not going anywhere. It'll be there.
Right. And you know what? I've got, a lot of attorneys as clients, and I've heard them say something extremely similar to students who go immediately from, their four-year undergrad education into law school because they think that's what they want to do. And it turns out horrible for them. And they would also say, take some time, take some time, just a little bit of time, unless you're the type of person, like you said, unless you're the type of person, and this is what they told me, unless you're the type of person who always knew they were going to be a lawyer since they were like a little child, then you're going to go immediately. But for that person who's like, oh, I just want to see what it's like.
There's easier ways to do that. We got YouTube nowadays.
Right. If you just want to see what it's like you don't have your mind set that this is what I'm going to do, then it's best to probably go ahead and get that real life experience before you make that commitment, because it's absolutely a commitment. But when
I got a small investment. Everybody that's thinking about this, that is on the fence, should make. There's a book by Nancy Langdon Jones, says "So You Want to Be a Financial Planner." Nice. It's on her website. If you go to nancybooks.com, I've had her on my podcast. She's a sweet woman. She's like 80-something years old, but she's so sweet. All it has is story after story. I think the last edition, she even put some stuff in there about Jumpstart, which is kind of cool. But it's story after story of career change or of people that have gone through this. And I think that's a good starting place, because that book would probably take you a weekend to read through. And it will give you like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I want to keep on going down this path, and even some people to reach out to. So I think that's a $40 well invested, or whatever she charges for it. It's worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a good. I saw the interview. It's a great interview. So, all right. So we got to feel for the difficulty of the exam, how rewarding it is, when you do get over that hump, and the things that you need to think about before you, really make that commitment, because it is a commitment. This is a profession, and, it makes me think of the times where there was a different podcast that I heard Dick Wagner on, when he talks about how, this is a profession that you should feel privileged to be a part of. So you should take it seriously. Now, the second question, though, and you probably are already prepared for this. The second question is always, how much money can I make? After you get out there, okay, all right, if I'm gonna do all this work to study for this, exam that is difficult and takes a commitment to be able to pass, and I respect the profession, and all that, how much money can I make? What you
want the real answer or the?
I want the real.
I can give it to you, Raj. You want. So the thing about service industries, including the financial service industry, is that the formula is clients in the door, served at the highest level, bring the most amount of income. So what this means is, if you don't decide to have some type of business development, client acquisition, something inside of what you're going to do when you get the CFP, you're going to have what I call an earnings cap. So earnings cap can be various for different markets, and we can parse that in just a second if you want. But my point is, you need, first of all, understand this is a people business. So don't get your CFP to go be in the back office and churning out plans. You can do that, but don't be thinking you're gonna become a millionaire doing that. Like those things don't match, because we can create as many financial plans as we want, or we can know how to create as many financial plans as we want. But if we don't have any clients to sell them to, then
what's the point?
So you're gonna have to. You can't get away from the sales aspect. I'll go ahead and use that dirty word of this job. That even the firm owners, I've seen very successful firm owners with no CFP, multi-millionaires, but they know how to talk to people. So we probably need to, kind of rabbit trail a little bit on some of the softer side. We've handled the technical side, but the softer side of this business is really what makes you the money. But to be honest, I think if you just go get CFP, I've seen a lot of job descriptions. I got a lot of friends in the industry that are interested in people that are in the Jumpstart community. So, for somebody that's newly minted CFP, you're going to probably, depending on the market, you're going to be sub six figures. I mean, you don't have any experience, right? And experience is really what gets you paid in this industry. So, but I know jobs are going to probably start you 60 at a minimum, regardless of market, up to probably like 80. And then you can probably do that with less than 3 years of experience, generally speaking. After you get past 3 years, even if you're not doing any business development, you should be low six figures, right? Maybe up to like 125-ish type of stuff. I'll tell you a really quick story, because I always give this away. So I had my 7 and my 66, no CFP, no grad degree, joined the RIA in 2010. He started me at 60.
Mm-hmm.
I used my skill set as a career changer from the hedge fund,
right,
and did something that he expected to take 6 months to 9 months in 3 months, which immediately endeared me to him. And
right.
18 months later, I had doubled my salary.
Wow.
By the time I left, I was deep in the six figures, and that was only in 6 years. I hadn't earned my CFP yet. I had just finished grad school. Matter of fact, I graduated the May before I left that firm. So all this to say, I know this Western culture like has us hanging our shingle on education. And I have a whole nother thing that I think about that. But having put 3 kids, adult kids, through partial college. But anyways,
right.
I think there is a preoccupation around what you know, instead of learning the actual craft.
Yeah.
Learning the craft about financial services, all about helping people take limited time and money and spread that across unlimited choices. That's the job, very simply put. And if you can do that effectively, where people trust you with their most precious commodities, which is money and time, then you're going to be fine, whether you have a CFP or not.
It's a great point. Takes me straight into where I want to go, because the skill set that's required beyond the technical stuff is really what, from my view, is really what sets apart the okay and the good from the great, right? Some people ask me, what do I do to try to, make myself different from my competition in the marketplace? And I would tell them it's not my mathematical skills, even though I'm pretty good at math, right? Pretty good at math. I'm somewhat of a geek. In elementary school, I won the Math Elite Award. And for people who have no idea what that is, it's only should concern geeks. But a math elite in my area was the person who got the highest math scores in elementary school. But it's not my math skills that sets me apart. I think it's my background in the education that I got in marketing that sets me apart from my counterparts. Because what I always say is you can make the greatest financial plan for any particular client. It means absolutely nothing if they don't buy in. Right? So a sports analogy is I played a lot of different sports, mainly football and wrestling. And I could tell you a coach can draw up the perfect play on the board. People don't realize almost every football play is designed to be a touchdown. If you block it right, every play, even a goal line play, like every play, if it's blocked right, it's designed to be a touchdown. But obviously, there's always an assignment that's missed. But it doesn't matter. You can draw up the perfect play. Teams always lose. Like one team always lose. Why? Because of the execution of it. So if you don't have those soft skills, as you talked about before, being technical is great, but people really want to pay for results. And if they're not achieving their results, if you're not able to be that driving force between where your client is and where they want to be financially towards their goals, short-term or long-term, if you're not making a difference in people's lives, then you're not going to see a huge difference financially in your life. So what do you see as the important skill?
I would agree with you. I agree wholeheartedly with all of that, what you just said. I think new entrants into this industry are going to have to realize that information is pretty ubiquitous in 2022. I mean, you can pretty much Google and YouTube anything. That doesn't mean that you can do everything that you Google and YouTube.
Right.
It just means that being the holder of all information is a misnomer, right? You need to learn how a client can take all this information that's out there and simplify their lives. That's the job, essentially, right? Absolutely. So I think coming alongside the client as a partner / collaborator that they can trust. A lot of my clients remark on the conversations that we get into that have nothing to do with finance.
Right.
And the reality is
life
that
stuff.
I've just been blessed. I've been married to the same woman for 25 years. I have 3 grown children. A lot of what I intersperse into the client advisor relationship has to do with my life experience. And so it's just being relatable.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people, I coach existing advisors that are trying to scale their business. And I tell them, when you're thinking about bringing in a prospect and even, building a brand or even marketing, I mean, you've done a really great job. I think a lot of advisors would do well to get on YouTube or some medium so people can learn about them, because most of the clients that come to me were like, yeah, I saw the videos on your website, or I saw your YouTube channel or whatever. And I was like, this is the guy I need to talk to, because people, they want to try before they buy. Yeah. They want to feel like they know you. They want to experience some things. And if you just got this brochure like website that, people just don't have time to read, to be honest. I mean, like, come on, man. So like you really have to get yourself out there. And I think that the point of social media is to be social. So you leverage it for that, to show your personality. And granted, look, you don't have to work with everybody. And this may seem like it's like really directed to people that are wanting to be entrepreneurs in the space, but that's not to say everybody has to. I think there's some really great opportunities to partner with others. Right. But to understand the marketing and the sales part of this job that allows you to build relationships and get people to where they go, like you said, reach their goals and execute, you have to know this stuff. Like you're going to look so much better than somebody that is coming in there, they're saying, give me a handout, give me a job so I can sit behind a desk and you pay me 6 figures plus benefits and everything else a year, versus, hey, I understand that you talk to retirees that are retiring or pre-retirees that are retiring in the next 10 to 15 years, and you're segmented in this part of the market here. Have you thought about this in the social media standpoint? Because in my last job, I was like, that's a totally different conversation in an interview.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You're automatically bringing value and showing what you can do to help this organization.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a great point. So, yeah. So, all right, here we go. So we went over, obviously, the difficulty of the exam, the type of money that a person can make. When it comes to, being a CFP, being in this industry, I mean, what does it mean to you? Because there's a difference between a job and a profession, right? I somewhat, and maybe it's not the best thing, but I identify myself by being an advocate for people financially. That's just how I feel, and I'm somewhat, probably too much of a protector of the profession, and I tell people, like, no, this isn't something that you should be getting into just because you think you can make money selling stuff. You would go longer if you come to it with the mindset of, man, I enjoy helping. And this is the area where I'm helping. It's like, a doctor with a bad bedside manner. It doesn't matter how good they are. At the end of the day, that patient still is going to they're going to be basing you off of how you made them feel at the end of the day, based on your communication and everything like that. And, so I just want to end this off with just saying, what does it mean to you? Because we already talked about how much hard work it takes.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be a part of this? You already talked about less than 2,000 Black CFPs. What does it mean to you to be a part of this, fraternity?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of places I can go there. I'm trying to see which one adds the most value. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's probably the best place to start, because you referenced Dick Wagner earlier, the George Kinders of the world, all these people that have spoke about spoke about the significant spot that we hold in clients' life. I think you have to value that. You have to treasure that. You have to hold that in high esteem and prestige in order for you to help at the highest level. I think to be a part of this means a lot to me. My personal mission is to help change family trees. I think everybody deserves an opportunity to change their family tree, which is the reason why I do what I do. And I think, if you're thinking about this from a macro standpoint, there's the estimates are a little off depending on what source you use, but let's call it 400,000 people that use the title as financial advisors in the US.
Right.
And there's only 90,000 CFPs. Well, is that to say that the CFP is the end all be all for financial planning? It's arguable, but probably, right? You got the CHFC, you got CPWA, you got, a couple of other ones that are dealing directly with financial planning, but the CFP Board of Standards have done a really, really good job of, I would say, marketing this to the public for awareness, and doing a pretty good job of the curriculum.
Yes.
It's not perfect, but it's better than most. And so all that to say, when going into this, realize that yes, there is a bridge to cross when it comes to the rigor of the technical, but then your journey doesn't stop there. Continue to professionally develop yourself so that you can have the highest impact on a client's life. I'll end with this story. So I have a client on the East Coast, and we've been working together for almost 2 years now. And I remember during her husband's birthday, he came in at the beginning, but then he kind of, he's been on the fringes. He's already retired. He's got his own thing going. So mostly her and I talk. But anyways, he came in on his birthday on one Zoom meeting, and he's like, I just want to let you know, Dominique, that the time that you've been working with my wife has been, I've noticed the change in her. Like, he's like, the stress is lifted off. She seems like she's more light and more fun, and always, he's some other attributes. He's like, so I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate what you've been doing for our family. And I was like, wow, man, I thank you. That's one of the highest compliments I've ever received. And then he was just like, okay, yeah, and thank you, deuces. And he just left. And I was like, I told my wife about that. And, her and I have been married for 25 years. People don't really realize how interconnected finance and money is in their lives, and all the different facets of our lives that it takes hold of. Yes. And to have a partner that you can trust to handle the more complex stuff, so you can use mental energy and RAM for other things that you're trained to do. That's a huge win. It's almost unquantifiable for the consumer of financial services, our clients. And so that's what you need to think of yourself as. You need to think about getting yourself to that place, so where they can offload the stress, anxiety, frustration that comes with, should I do this? Should I do this? Choice A, choice B, choice C, choice Z, so like all this kind of stuff, I think is what we essentially help people do. That's the privilege of having that space as the trusted advisor in your client's life.
Nice. All right. So I'm not going to let you get away without talking about Jumpstart. Jumpstart, the community that you created for, students and career changers, is amazing, because I'm a part of it. I'm in the Facebook group. I was able to, get the tips and everything that I needed to do to keep me encouraged and help me in my studying path, and the community where you don't feel like you're alone. Right. Before, when I was studying and before I, joined Jumpstart in that community, to know that there was other people who were going after the same goal that I was going after. And they had very similar questions to the questions that I had. Yeah. I didn't feel like a dummy because other people were asking the things that I kind of felt like, I don't want to make it seem like I don't know this. Because sometimes you can get into your own head, and you're afraid to even ask questions because you feel like, well, then they'll know I don't know this and I look dumb. I didn't feel that in the Jumpstart community that you created. So can you close us out with, explain what the community that you created, which honestly helped me get through the CFP exam?
Yeah. So there's a saying, and I don't know, I picked it up. I think he was at an award show or something like that. And somebody was interviewing Tyler Perry, and he was saying the job of people when they make it to a certain point or achieve a level of success is to hold the door open for others. And I was like, that's right. Right. Yeah. So I was faced with 3.5, almost 4 years ago. Dominique, do you scale and build your firm and essentially become this manager of a ton of relationships, which I had done prior in my life? Or do you kind of cap your firm size in order to show and teach what you know to the next generation. There's benefits in both,
right?
But I think I can reach more people, change more family trees, even if it's vicariously because of the multiplication effect through the latter. So that's what I chose to do, and that's why Jumpstart exists. So we're on a mission to help, change family trees. So I usually find a couple of segments of people. Usually it's the aspiring financial professional, whether they're career changers or newly out of school, that find my YouTube channel and they want to get into the community and they want to fraternize, network with other people that are going in the same direction. There's a lot of trainings. We don't have to go into all that kind of stuff. You can just kind of link to the website.
Yes,
but,
I will.
I'm more on the softer side, professional development side of helping people get into the industry than the technical, because I feel A, that there's people that do that way better than I, and B, more importantly, I don't think that's the most important. I talk to RIAs, firm owners. I have a very big network all the time on my podcast, and over and over and over and over again, they iterate, Dominique, if you can bring me somebody without the technical skills, but the soft skills, I can teach them the technical skills. I hear that all the time. All the time. And so what I'm trying to do is help people with the next level of professional development, critically thinking through what the client relationship looks like, firm workflows, all this kind of stuff is what we talk about. We got a mastermind that meets monthly where I coach. So there's just a lot of different things. And even if you're an existing financial professional that's looking to kind of scale your practice, we have those inside the community also. So jumpstartcoachinglab.com is where you can find the information. And yeah, I'll continue to do that just because I think it's a worthwhile deposit into the industry, of the financial services industry, so that we can bolster the profession of financial planning.
Mr. Henderson, thank you so much. I appreciate your time for even coming on this channel. Thank you so much for what you bring to this industry and our community. So thank you over and over again. Thank you.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.